Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, Permission to Live in the End. I am excited to talk to you about what I have to talk about today. I'm going to share another experience and of course related to a Neville Goddard quote because I just feel like his quotes are just amazing, and this channel is inspired by Neville Goddard. And I have to start by putting a disclaimer on this particular video. Whatever I talk about is not meant for you to take as medical advice. And I'm going to put that disclaimer in the description. But I am going to be sharing an experience that is medical in nature. But I want to share a quote first, and then we'll get right into it because I have woken up today with such a fire, and just wanted to share that with you here in a video. And it has to do with bridge of incidents, and the assumptions that we're making are creating the bridges of incidents that we experience in our lives. And the quote today goes like this: if you tell them it came to pass because you simply imagined it, no, they will point to the series of events that led up to it, and they will give credit to the bridge of incidents across which you walked towards the fulfillment of that state. And they will point out some physical thing that was the cause. No, the cause is invisible, for the cause is God, and God is invisible to the mortal eye. And we know that when Neville Goddard talks about God, Neville Goddard is talking about, and so am I, talking about imagination as God and you as God. And I want to talk about an experience that was brought to my remembrance this morning as I was actually listening to a very profound medical doctor. And I'll skip that for now. I'll come back to that. But the assumption that I want to talk about that I have made, and I don't even know when it started, but I have the assumption that anything can be cured. Now, that is my assumption, and I also believe that if we have not found a cure for something, it is because we simply have not come across that cure yet. But not that it's not possible to be cured, but we simply haven't figured it out yet as a humanity. That is what I believe. And I have believed that for quite some time. And I want to talk to you about how that assumption that I have made about anything being able to be cured led me down a series and chain of events, a bridge of incidents that caused me to experience the very thing that I'm talking to you about. So this was years ago. Years ago, I was experiencing some abdominal pain that was so bad, guys, at the times that it would flare up, that if I were driving, I would have to pull over and just clench my stomach so tight until it subsided. It felt like I was in labor. That's how bad this pain was. Well, initially, when it first started happening, I'm like, what the heck is going on? That's always my question. What is going on? Well, I'm experiencing this pain on and off. Now it began to become frequent enough that it caused me to stop eating. And one time I was at work, and it just, the pain was so bad. I don't even want to tell you what happened because it's just all terrible. It's just terrible. So anyway, when I had this experience at work, it was like the last straw. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I go to a gastro doctor who schedules a colonoscopy, and come to find out I was diagnosed with having diverticulitis. This was years ago. And so over time, not knowing what to eat, or when I would eat certain things, I would experience pain. Okay. Now, in particular, when I would eat my favorite fruit, a banana, I would get a migraine headache. Okay. I would get a migraine headache. Now, how do I know this? Because a banana was my favorite fruit. And every time I would eat it, I would get a migraine headache to the point where I had to stop eating bananas. So I noticed it because it was my favorite fruit and I had to stop eating it. Then I would pay attention to different foods. I would turn it over, look at the labels, look at what I'm consuming to try to find the pattern between what I was eating and how I was feeling. So anyway, I went back to my gastro doctor and I, talked to him about this. I said, every time I eat a banana, I get a migraine headache. And every time I consume this, something else I was talking about, it makes me feel really bad. And he said, well, how do you know this? And I said, well, I know because bananas are my favorite fruit. And every time I eat them, this is how I feel. And it's forcing me to stop eating it. So do you know what this doctor told me, guys? I'm getting close. Do you know what he told me? He had his nurse practitioner come back in the room and tell me that what I was going through was psychosomatic. So basically, I'm not having an experience in my body. I'm having it in my mind. Okay? So I said, okay, forget you. I'm going to my internal medicine doctor, talk to my internal medicine doctor about what I'm experiencing. Go to my internal medicine doctor, tell her, every time I eat a banana, I get a migraine headache. She says, well, stop eating bananas. Stop eating bananas was her answer. So I'm like, okay, this is not going the way I want it to go. Okay. So I subconsciously relied back on my assumption. My assumption was that everything can be cured. So I didn't care what the gastro doctor said. I didn't care what the internal medicine doctor said. Now my assumption that anything can be cured started to arise. Okay. So one day I'm on Facebook. I'm connected to this particular gentleman. His name was Khayr. Khayr had a Blog Talk radio show, and I haven't been connected to him in a long time, so I don't know if he has the show anymore. But this particular day, I see the title of his Blog Talk radio show, and he's announcing a doctor, a naturopathic doctor, who, well, I don't know if he considers himself a naturopath, but he considers himself what's called a symptometrist. But anyway, in the title, it said that this doctor believed and knew that anything could be cured. Okay, so the very words I use, this doctor was using. I said, okay, I'm going to listen to this radio show. So I get on the radio show, and this doctor's name is Dr. Maxwell Nartey, 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 and he's a symptometrist. And I got on the radio show, and I don't know what area Dr. Nartey is from, but he has a strong accent. But, he has an accent. So anytime you hear an accent that you haven't heard before, it feels strong until you get used to it. So anyway, I'm listening to Dr. Nartey on this show, and he is breaking down the science of the things that we take into our bodies, the interaction of foods that he breaks down in a science lab to their molecular structure, applies those things to a human cell and watches the interaction in the human cell. And this is how he knows whether something is good for you or not, scientifically through a food science lab. So I'm listening, and everything he's saying is making so much complete sense. And he's breaking down science in such a way that a child, a 5-year-old, maybe a 9-year-old can understand, right? And I'm like, that's it. I'm calling him. I could feel the truth of what he was saying. I'm like, I'm calling. So I call Dr. Nardi and he answers the phone. Okay. He answers the phone and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is Dr. Nardi. You answered the phone. He's like, yes, in his voice. And we begin to talk. And I say, I've been diagnosed with diverticulitis. And the first thing he does is say, don't tell me about your diagnosis. Tell me about your symptoms. So I'm talking to him about the different symptoms I'm going through. And I told him the very first thing I wanted to talk about was my banana, because that's my favorite fruit. So I said, Dr. Nardi, my banana, I can't eat the banana. And he does this laugh, like this matter-of-fact laugh, like I was talking like this childish, just this matter-of-fact. But he's ever so comfortable to talk to, guys. You could talk to him about anything. So I talked to him about that. And he just like laughed it off, like, like, whatever this, and I'm like, okay, you got to tell me why you're laughing and what do you know differently than the gastro doctor and the internal medicine doctor didn't tell me. So he says, anytime you have pain and inflammation in your body, you cannot have a high potassium diet. And obviously bananas are high in potassium. And he went on to break it down even more. I don't remember what the complete breakdown was, but he went to break it down even more to explain to me what's happening in the body and all of this when I consume a banana. And I told him that my diet, it would be so bad in terms of not knowing what to eat and all of this, to the point where I would resort to salads, thinking that was the thing to do, because it seemed like it was a natural thing to do. And the salad, I'd have some lettuce, some tomatoes, some, whatever's in the salad. And he said, well, how did that make you feel? I said, it didn't make me feel any better. And he said, that's because lettuce is high in potassium. And he went on to say some other remarkable things that I've never heard before in terms of, how the body breaks down lettuce or is not capable of breaking down lettuce in certain forms, and how you need to cook it and all of this. And he started talking to me about the difference between a collard green and how much chewier that is than a turnip green. And you can have the turnip green because it's more water soluble than the collard green. So he's breaking things down to the point where I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Anyway, when I started to have a diet that consisted of the things that Dr. Nardi recommended, no longer symptomatic of diverticulitis, okay? No more symptoms. So my point in talking about assumptions and the assumptions that lead to the bridge of incidence, and I love what, I'll come back to that. We're only able to see what we're ready and prepared to see based on the subconscious assumptions that we are making about ourselves. My point is that not everybody knows about Dr. Nardi. Not everybody knows about certain doctors and certain things, or even accepts the idea that anything can be healed or cured. Not everybody accepts that. As a matter of fact, some people might downright argue against that. And why would they argue against that? Because it's not the assumption that they are making within themselves. So I love what a gentleman shared in my Feel It Real challenge that I had. He said, you cannot fake feel. So either you feel something to be true and that is your assumption, or you don't. And it's not that you can't change your assumption. You can change your assumption. However, the point is that the bridge of incidence that is occurring as a result of the assumptions that you are currently making, the lives we're living, the people we're interacting with and not interacting with, the information that we see and don't see is based off of the assumptions that we currently have. So my assumption being, that I believe anything could be cured, allowed a door to open to whoever else out there believes anything can be cured. So I just wanted to stop by and share this experience with you. And again, this is not meant for you to go off and take this as medical advice because I said it. I am sharing a personal experience talking about the subconscious thoughts and assumptions that we're making within ourselves that are causing the bridge of incidents and are. I was talking to my husband about this morning. I said, we actually do not. We're not experiencing something called free will. We don't have free will. And the reason why we don't have free will is because of the assumptions that are binding us and locking us in to whatever the bridge of incidents is going to be. This is why you don't have free will. It's not because of whatever else you might have been being taught. It's because whatever the assumptions are that we're making is the law that we have to live by. And we might not be consciously aware of what those assumptions are. So I just wanted to stop by and share this experience with you. And I'm going to go back to the quote that I shared in the very beginning. If you tell them it came to pass because you simply imagined it, no, they will point to the series of events that led up to it. And they will give credit to the bridge of incidents across which you walk toward the fulfillment of that state. And they will point out some physical thing that was the cause. No, the cause is invisible. For the cause is God, and God is invisible to the mortal eye. Everybody, make it an incredible rest of your day, and click the like button, share, and click that subscribe button. And I'll see you on the next video.